I've documented some stuff and I've got some tabs open for others, so we'll do what we can. So this is the first time we'd used Luma primarily instead of Meetup. I had a few people register in, so thank you for trying that out. It seemed to work pretty well. I'll keep using that and see where we go. Meetups become very expensive, so I don't want to use it anymore. Big ticket items, I guess. Many people would have heard this, but Qualcomm acquired Arduino, an undisclosed chunk of money. Not clear yet what that's going to mean. Apparently, Arduino is going to be kept separate, but for how long we don't know. So we've got the announcement here. At the same time, they also announced a new product called the Uno Q, which is actually an interesting combination. It's a Qualcomm MPU, like a Linux capable processor, much like sort of Raspberry Pi capable, that kind of category, as well as an STM32 U5 on board as well. So it's got a ton of processing power. They're not particularly cheap. What is it, 95 euros, which is about 180 bucks Australian. Not cheap. That's actually the full kit, though, to be fair, which is what they're advertising. But,
I think I've seen 40 euros.
Yeah, something like that. 40, 50 bucks. Yeah.
Slightly more reasonable. Well, that's in the same category as Raspberry Pi then.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have to try, aren't they?
Yeah, there you go. It's 50 euros. So maybe a little bit more. But yeah. Bunch of LEDs in the front for, I guess they had some board space left. But if you've got Arduino shields, possibly a good match. I mean, I guess we'll see. Like if people pick it up and run with it, then it will get popular and be useful. But otherwise, I guess we'll see.
$3 or $5 on my sheet.
Yeah, great.
You know, $4 or $5.
Did they actually go with 3v3?
That's right.
Right. Okay.
So a lot of shields won't be compatible.
Yeah. Odd and interesting. Still not clear what's going on there. So. No support yet. Meant to be keeping things open source. Haven't released all the documentation yet. So design files are meant to be released. Data sheets are meant to be released, but not everything's out there yet. So.
Don't really know what they're going to be running on the big chip. Yeah,
yeah, Qualcomm have said they're going to try and keep it as open as possible. We'll see. Yeah,
more open than most Qualcomm things.
For those that have worked with Qualcomm stuff before, I'm sure it tends to be a closed source kind of company and tends not to support makers very well. So optimistic, but wait and see. Yeah, exactly. Space. Just a reminder that 127's coming along. MicroPython 127 is currently scheduled for November 14th. How's that looking, Damien?
Good. Yeah. No, I mean, we're going to stick to the schedule. The previous one was on schedule. I mean, plus or minus a few days is fine. But yeah, it's just going to be, that's the cutoff and that's the date it will be released. Or plus or minus a few days. So whatever gets in, gets in.
Yeah, cool. And as I said here, like it's pretty easy to highlight like the new micros that are supported, like the P4 and the U5. But I'm actually like, it's more impressive kind of going through all the other tickets. And there's just so much added stuff that gets thrown into each release. It's a real testament to how wide sort of the feature set has gotten for MicroPython. Moving along, so Nordic released their went hand in hand with one of the NRF 54 releases. NRF 54 was sort of the latest sort of general purpose kind of microcontroller that has good support for BLE. This particular one's kind of the spiritual successor of the very popular 52840. It has high speed USB and a bunch of RAM, bunch of flash, and looks like it'll be sold pretty cheaply. When I'd seen this posted, it also, someone had noticed that they released the bare metal API, which for those that have been following Nordic, they've pretty much gone down the Zephyr path. So if you wanted support for Nordic software, you had to sort of play in the Zephyr space, but that's no longer the case. The bare metal option is actually designed to give you, much like the NRF Connect SDK of the past, this replaces that for the NRF 54 range. They didn't make a big deal out of this, but it's actually pretty useful. And I suspect that this would be well, in some ways, this would be an easier path for MicroPython to build on top of rather than Zephyr. So we can probably have both options. So yeah, that's there. That's interesting. Pocket PD. So Sean and I have purchased one of these little things. It's a just a power supply. So you plug in a USB PD source on one side, and you can then tailor the voltage that's spat out on the other side. It's a really handy little device. Now, the other part that was very attractive to me is that this has got an RP2040 in the guts of it, and it's custom made for MicroPython. So I'm going to make this. We're going to make this firmware run MicroPython. So neat little device, and we'll be running MicroPython at some point in the future. If you want one, they're what was it, about $130. Yeah, including shipping. Yeah. And the other bit of hardware news was that Raspberry Pi announced their Raspberry Pi 500 Plus, which is a keyboard with a built-in Raspberry Pi, and it's pretty neat. Getting a lot of good reviews, especially it's a well-designed sort of keyboard. You could do worse than having a general-purpose MicroPython development kit as just a keyboard. So, thought this audience might be interested in that.
So it's got a full Raspberry Pi in it.
Yep.
Yeah, Raspberry Pi. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Mechanical keyboard. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Can't remember how much they cost. They weren't particularly cheap, but
Raspberry Pi, that's cheap.
yeah, about $200 US. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Waveshare announced another industrial device. They've got actually quite a few of these now. We talked about the ESP32 one last month. They've got a 2350. This one's got 6 relays on it. It's got isolated RS485, and a really interesting feature of it is that it also has inside of the device, it's got like the Pico hat form as well. So if you want to expand the features of it, you can pop off the cover and put like a standard Pico hat inside. These are $27 or $32 if you want it Wi-Fi. So pretty neat little device, DIN rail compatible, isolated outputs for relays. I think these Waveshare onto something good here, I think. The rack 11160 is that pizza. Yeah. So this little module is made by a company called Rack. For those that don't know, they make a whole bunch of radio devices. This particular module is kind of, what do I say, it's smushed together an STM32 WLE5 and an ESP32C2. So this little module is about $650 for one-off units. And yeah, it has LoRa, Wi-Fi, and BLE in it. And there was a user, I couldn't find his real name, but FD Lamotte, who contributes to MeshCore, which is one of those LoRa projects that are trying to do, off-grid, offline sort of systems. And he didn't like the firmware that the Rack supplies to run this thing, which is not surprising. They're a good hardware company, perhaps not so good in their software side. Anyway, he took a pre-built MeshCore, or he built MeshCore to run on the WLE5 STM32 on this thing. And that was great, all ran. And then he's like, well, I've got the ESP32 sitting there. What will I do with that? And he decided to run MicroPython on it. And now it controls the MeshCore that's running on the STM32. So yeah, pretty interesting combination of stuff here. Now, if we could replace the mesh core with a MicroPython implementation, you'd have MicroPython on both cores, and it'd be happy days, right? But maybe that's the next step. I don't exactly know how to say that word. Zwisherbox. Let's go with that. Luke Volders posted about this. A Zwisherbox is a common gift from wherever he's from, which I think is Germany. And it just plays some audio when you're nearby. And traditionally, it was like you play some bird sounds, and they often look like a little bird nesting device, or they have a nature picture on it like this. They're quite expensive, and so Luke figured he built his own. So he just back to PIR on the front of it, and ran some MicroPython to stream a WAV file through the audio of the device. So it's got a full write up on how to do it. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. Simon Prickett, who's spoken at one of our friend of the meetup, Simon Prickett, who's spoken before, spoke at another meetup in London, and he was talking about how to interact with Grafana from both CircuitPython and MicroPython. And so you can see here there's an old analog gauge and a LCD display here. The LCD display is being controlled by MicroPython, the analog gauge by CircuitPython. Both of them are connecting to a Grafana backend, pulling the data out and displaying information on it. So he's posted all the software for that too. So interesting thing to go check out. Shows how easy it is to hook into things like Grafana. Sam Neggs publishes a new game, and I share it with you guys because he's always doing some really interesting things. And he was kind enough to publish the code when I asked for it. This is an old Atari 800 game called Star Raiders. I have no idea what the game's really like. And in fact, looking at his recording of it, it's really hard to tell what's going on. But it looks great. Touchscreen interface. You're trying to shoot spaceships somehow. But the way it moves is actually really responsive. And yeah, the sound effects. Yeah. So it's a really good tribute to this old classic game, and even the way he's got like the fonts, like he's done it pretty well. I've seen some screenshots of the original game, and it's done pretty faithfully, but really responsive. Yeah, stop it there. Check that out. And it's, 1,500 lines of source code. It's not very long. He's published it in a gist, so. Yeah. Gist, whatever you want to call it. UPyOS, Sean covered MicroPython OS like a couple of months ago. This is another one. UPyOS, it's a bit different. This one's all about like having a POSIX environment that's built on top of MicroPython. So you log in over the serial port, or you connect over the serial port, and it's much like a Unix prompt. And so they've got a whole bunch of commands, the ones you expect, cat, whatever, but there's quite a long list of them. And there's even some sort of scripting support, much like you would expect from Bash. And it's kind of like a structure for writing your own commands in MicroPython. It's quite a neat thing to do. I'm not sure what the purpose is, maybe educational, but yeah, interesting idea.
Does it run on on Unix, or does it run on a microcontroller, or what is it?
No, sorry, it's running on microcontroller, but it's running directly on top of MicroPython. So it's a MicroPython application, which is kind of giving you a POSIX-ish interface. Yeah, to the device. Yeah.
Mini rewrite of Bash.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, that's cool.
It's a cute idea. Yeah.
EasyBox MicroPython. Yeah.
And for other people who want to do development on their phones, there's a good walk up from David Galilei about how to use an Android phone and use, what's the application called? Termux.
Yep.
So from Termux, you can install even Python applications. So he's using MP Remote and ESP tools, so he can even deploy the standard ESP builds from the MicroPython site from his phone, and then interact with the device, program it, and do all the things you would expect. So, it's not the most productive environment, but if you're on the move,
that's rubbish. I do rack ton of programming from my phone on Terminal. I was writing a program while Matt was driving into the. Which I can demo after this if you like.
It's some people.
Good.
Yeah, good look. Framework laptop. Okay, so this group 712, I think it's a university student from memory. Anyway, there's a couple of things that are interlinked here. I guess one of them is the Framework laptops. So Framework are a company that make laptops. They also have these expansion ports, which are official expansion ports. I don't know if we've got the photo of the. Oh yeah, okay. So this is the corner of the Framework laptop, and this is the way they actually expand their laptop in a standard sort of way. Like if you want to, when you order your laptop, if you want to grab an expansion port with 2 USB-A or 2 USB-C or Ethernet or whatever, they're actually provided by official expansion cards that you slot into the Framework laptop. But they've also standardized these and published all of the mech design and the electrical interface. It's all based around USB-C. So this person has released these. It's basically just an RP2350 sitting on one of these expansion cards connected to your device. So there's some pins broken out on the edge of the card, which you could access from the laptop. But you can plug this in and then just do direct MicroPython development on the connected card. So it's pretty neat. And as part of that work, they also released some software to do some programming from Python running on the computer to run it on the actual connected card. It's a bit like Belay, if you guys remember that library. So yeah, interesting little project. So that was cool. Yeah, I really like the framework laptops. Cool. Arduino tools for MicroPython. So UbiDifo, I'm sure I'm saying his name, UbiDifo, I'm sorry, Ubi, if that's your name. I couldn't find his real name, but he's active on Discord. He works at Arduino, and just before the acquisition, which may or may not be timely or not, I'm not sure, he published a repository that he'd been working on, which is Arduino Tools MPy. And what it lets you do is relatively easily add multiple applications to MicroPython and then choose which ones you want to run. So it kind of just changes the directory, makes it so you can. The idea here is you can publish sort of standalone applications, and then it'll copy them in a conventional sort of way, where they'll be living inside certain directories, and at runtime you can choose which one to run. And there's some support in Arduino Lab to add a package to that list, so people could share not just libraries but actual applications here in this way. So it's a neat little bit of structure. Quick bites. We've covered Tibor a long time ago. It's a game which uses MicroPython for some of the implementation, and now and the author, I can't recall his name either. He's published it on the PlayStation for the PlayStation 5, and it's a pretty interesting way to deploy MicroPython. It used Unreal Engine and squished it inside the Unreal Engine executable, so it's sort of deployed inside that. So, but now we can officially say that MicroPython's in the PS5 game. Yeah. Scruss, I see you're here, but it was good to see you updated the decimal library. It seems like that the owner of the library isn't terribly responsive anymore, but it's a really excellent fixed precision library that now works on CircuitPython as well as MicroPython, exactly the same code. So that was really cool, Scruss. If you've got one of these little VFD displays lying around, we now have a MicroPython driver for it, thanks to Salvatore. They are so retro cool. If I had one, I would try that driver out right now, but I don't. So maybe we can find one around here somewhere. And speaking of drivers, Parkuan has released a joystick driver. These are really popular and really cheap joystick drivers, so he's got a good driver for that. Final thoughts. So that's all the news I really had. Damien, you inspired me to talk a little bit about 3D printing stuff. So Gridfinity is something, if you've got a 3D printer, if you've got access to a 3D printer, check that out. It's just a standard way to lay out and store tools or whatever. Gridfinity can be sort of laid out to, it's like a grid of these grids here. Can you print it out? It's a standard sort of size, and then you can create all sorts of buckets that sort of fit into the grid in whatever way you want. And then from that, you can sort of see an image like this where you've got just lots and lots of different ways to store exactly perfect like compartments for your tools and stuff. So if you're into 3D printing, you'll love it. And finally, yeah, Midjourney was, I just asked it to show us what the weather's like outside while we're coding on a night like tonight. So, and that's it now. What have I missed in the chat window? Anything exciting? And yes, the decimal library that Scruss put together works from MIP as well, which is great. Maybe it should, Damien. I think from memory, Scruss, you might be able to talk about that. If the decimal library is close enough to Python's standard decimal library to add it to MicroPython libs support, like is it a drop-in replacement for?
No, it's not. It adds some transcendental functions, and I wouldn't. It's not sort of structured in a way I particularly like. Is just I see people were having problems installing it, and the original developer wasn't that responsive. So I just did a tiny change and ported it over. I barely understand what it does. It's a lovely library. It's really
Yeah.
powerful, but it's not anything close really to the standard decimal library. I wish it were.
Well, maybe we can slowly get it that way. I mean, we don't have to. It can just be as long as it implements a subset of something that matches C Python in some way, can be a start. And if it's really useful already, then maybe it implements enough of what you need. And then if there are any extensions, like you say, transcendental functions, that could go in a separate thing. But do you know what's the license of it?
I'm pretty sure it's permissive. Yeah, let me just check where that is. You can tell I use GitHub a lot.
I'll look it up myself. But that's very interesting because we could.
It's
MIT.
MIT, yeah.
Okay, well that's good. So you took it from MPY Dev, did you?
Yeah. They released it, did some maintenance, and then haven't touched it for over a year
Interesting.
and don't respond. So
Cool.
not quite sure who they are. I think they might be someone that I know who claims to be unable to use GitHub.
Okay. Well, that would be interesting if that can form a basis of the standard decimal library. Something we should look into.
That'd be good. Andrew, did you want to show off yours?
Yeah, I'll give it a quick show.
Okay, I'll stop sharing here. Andrew's got something that we
Might be handy. Well, it's handy for me already. Yeah, just last night I sort of realised that I've been doing a lot of remote development where I've got a little mini computer, a NUC sitting at home that I plug various MicroPython boards into so that I can SSH into it from anywhere and code and program and do hardware in the loop testing. But I keep losing track of what's plugged in where because they're all just /dev/tty/acm something. I always keep using different ways to look up where they are. But yeah, thought last night a script to show the details would be far more helpful, and it's now published as MPY devices. So you can do a UV tool install MPY devices and have this little guy that by default comes up as a TUI. So it introspects all the connected devices.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. It's not a long way since it's started.
Shows you like the full dev serial by ID path if you want a nice long path. It then also uses MP Remote to connect to it quickly and queries what's on there. So it tells you the board name, it tells you the current version that's on there, so that before you run some hardware in the loop test, you could actually query the device and make sure it's running the version you think it's running. Because I've had a lot of problems lately where I get a passing test and realize after I've told everyone that it was on the wrong version. But yeah, so I'm hoping that this will be quite handy to just keep track of what's plugged in where. This couldn't be introspected because it's actually just a debugger. It's not connected to a UI on a MicroPython device. So it correctly can't be introspected as MicroPython, but I can still see what it is. And I can scan around. And this can be used just to check a single device. Scan one. Yeah, oh, no. Sometimes. There it goes. Sometimes you have to retry. Because raw mode, take a little bit of getting in and out of. Or you can do this command line list of everything. It's similar to the TUI, just shows you them all one after another as it tries to check what's there.
That's cool.
Cool.
Tiny little, it was Bash, it's now Python. It was converted to Python literally so that I could put it on PyPy so that you can just do that and get it ready to use.
I think Yoss has something similar to that?
Yeah, yeah, and I know Joss's MP Flash has a lot of this kind of introspection in it. Like it will connect to your device and figure out what it is. In particular, the board name is then what you can use, and get the variant as well, so that you can compile the same board over again. But
Just is on that. But
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's really, but yeah, this one is something I can very quickly and at any time see what's connected where and use it. And now, if it's used for anyone else, it'll be on PyPy forever. Hopefully.
Does it work on Windows?
It might.
It might.
It's supposed
That's what I
to,
thought, yeah.
but I haven't tested it.
Okay, well we can do that.
Oh, I can too. This is a Windows machine, but as I say, like this was published about 15 minutes ago after I started writing it last night. So I haven't really done very extensive testing, but it's already been useful.
I do have a MP remote query command that I use all the time, which gives similar but quite a lot more information, like
Yes, it does work.
if the network is active, if it's connected, its IP address and RSSI, and
Oh, nice.
a whole bunch of other stuff.
Just
So-
a little script that you run, like MP remote exec. It's pretty cool.
No, yeah, no. MP remote has shortcuts you can in your .config.
Oh, yeah.
I just added query, so I can type MP remote space query and actually just Q for short, and I use it all the time.
That's nice.
But it queries only the one, like it can't make a list like you have here. It can only query the one that you want to query at a time. But yeah, it gives one thing that's useful to print now that Hunts for Octoprobe advocated for, which I'm now finding very useful, is a sys.implementation._build, I think. And that gives you the board name. So you don't have to think anymore which board to build. You just get that string and use it.
Yeah, I couldn't remember where that was. Because that shows the variant as well, doesn't it? Like the dash variant.
Yes, it will show the variant. Yes.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
almost works on the Windows. Yeah.
Almost.
Some of it looks like it's hanging querying the device. And some part of it
Hanging on something.
just says querying device.
If you move. No, okay. Yeah.
We'll look into it more, but it
Just be the device you've got connected to that it's struggling with.
could be. Yeah, I just picked up one randomly. So yeah.
Yeah, Andrew.
Definitely more to try.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, doing good. So if you want to keep this working, right? So as Stuart said, right, there's tons of other devices that are connected that I threw off, right, or that are CircuitPython or on Mac or Bluetooth, right? So it's a maze, right? And like you, I have lots of microcontrollers, but not all the operating systems, right? So yeah, steal if you want, right? So to do the interrogation, right, take a look at whatever I have, the workarounds, and I think I mostly commented them, right? So well, the more tools, the better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Short and sweet, that's about all I've got to show. Nice and easy.
Cool.
But helps anyone, I can share that in the chat. If I can find the chat.
Yeah, I can imagine why that would screw up Joss's queries. Scrubs. I've just also published that you don't even need to install it. You just use UVX. It's actually a good candidate for that.
Yeah, I'm just trying that right now.
Yeah.
It takes a while. Yeah, it works.
It'll take a second the first time, and then it will cache it.
Yeah, no, I've got it. It's actually working. It's cool.
I thought UVX sort of rechecks the install every time or something, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer to start it next time even. But
I like it locally anyway.
yeah,
Trying it now, it takes about half a second every time, or a bit less.
UV is awesome.
Although it is, no, my computer's probably just quick. It did come up pretty much immediately the next time I tried it.
What's this share?
Well, if you have 5 minutes, then a quick view of what I had for what I now call the stop explorer, right? I've been working on these stops for too long, right? And I'm always, okay, what is in the different ones, right? So what I've now done is I was always trying to build out a web app, but whenever I get into JavaScript or TypeScript, I really start thinking that I'm really stupid because I don't understand all the curly braces. So I built this out in MicroPython. right, using PyScript, right? So I tried to get stubs for PyScript for a long time, and it took me a long time to wrap my head around it until I figured out, oh, I just need to have this little bit of HTML, and then it loads, and I need to configure it, and then it loads stuff up. Right, so in this case, it's become a little bit more of HTML, right? But what I now can do is okay, well, let's pick a version, right? A version of MicroPython. Let's take the same one. And what are all the differences between ESP32 and an RP2? Right?
That's right.
And it clearly, right, this doesn't connect to the to the live world yet. It uses the stubs that I've generated on the hardware. And then
Wow.
I can start seeing, okay, well, these are the differences, right? I've done some work to highlight the stuff that's deprecated, right? Or currently it's still simple, right? But then I can also say, okay, what are the classes in that, right? What are all the details in that? And this is currently loaded from a SQLite database, which at the beginning took 60 seconds or more to load because I create the database on CPython, right? I use a library to parse all the stubs, pull out all the information, stash it in a database, and now it's just a simple query away. Well, not so simple, right? Because it's all normalized. But this is fun, right? Because most of this stuff was actually now generated, right? Because I've been, well, herding AIs in order to build this mostly. But the fun stuff is if I do that using JavaScript or TypeScript, is then I'm looking at this opaque part, sort of code, and now I can just say, okay, well, perhaps right, a 5,000 line main.py isn't the way to go. Please normalize that, refactor it, right? So I can pull in separate stuff for okay, what modules are now the deprecated modules, right? And that's just stuff that I pulled from something else. The worst part actually was, okay, how to get SQLite running. And like I said, waiting 60 seconds staring at, oh, loading database wasn't fun. And there currently still is a part of JavaScript, which is, well, which I don't think we can get rid of pretty soon. Essentially what this does, it fetches the database and stores that in something that every browser nowadays had, IndexedDB, right? And it does ahead, is there any change? Yes, then it will get it. So I've been testing that. Fetching it over a slow link is what is a one hit of, well, 10, 20 seconds max, right? Close to 5 seconds probably on most links. After that, it just uses a cached version, right? So that's exactly what PyScript would offer, only that in order to get the information from JavaScript back to PyScript, do a byte for byte conversion back to JavaScript, that's where the 40 seconds is. So I've already flagged this to the PyScript team, right? Hey guys, would be swell if I don't need to build and maintain this JavaScript and this would just magically work, right? But it's fun. I've already spotted things that were wrong in my stuff just by comparing them, right? Because it are just such massive parts of well, essentially code. Having a tool just to visually compare them helps, right? And perhaps it also helps now having a quicker question to, okay, exactly right, which tool, which what boards do support I2S, right? So where is that all? And this is the part where I'm still, well, working on the code in order to make that more visual, right? Because, well, where is I2S, right? Okay, is it also supported in a pin class? There's crazy to fix about. So that's been fun developing, right? And to use my Python skills to build a web app, right? That's well feasible, right? So just wanted to share that.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing. I mean, yeah, PyScript is definitely much still work in progress. Like, and they'd be very happy to take feedback on anything you found. I was just discussing about SQLite with them the other day, and they are very interested to make that work seamlessly. But
yeah, I hear there was interest from them as well, right? So yeah, happy to share feedback as well. It's I think the most painful, right? So because the sequel, it was apparent, right? And I was actually pretty happy that it worked, right? Even in a simple thing, even though it was a bit slow, right? Well, it becomes slow as the database got larger. Figuring out exactly what one of these GE's proxy objects is, that's so painful, right? So that actually takes a lot of time, right? And all the shuttling back and forth. So, but something that would make it simpler to inspect these foreign objects, right? I think that goes for both sides, would help.
Looks like Ollie and Scruss are going to fix the install for the decimal package, and Ollie, you'll get that registered on MIM when you've got that working.
Yeah, I think it's just the name and package JSON was just entered incorrectly. I don't think anything was renamed. It was just not created correctly. That's all.
But yeah, once that's updated, I'll put it on him.
Should work.
Sweet.
Awesome. All right. I got to go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt, for organizing as usual. And the news roundup. Very good. It's always very interesting.